Welcome to Tending Your Dreams with host Anita Brooks, offering you stories, skills, and strategies for living life with real courage and rare passion. You are created for an abundant life. The question is, are you living it? Dare to choose a life of passion now. Warning, some of the subject matter may get real and raw, with occasional laughter, but that's where the great stuff comes from. So, are you ready? It's time to get serious about your dreams. Let's Tend Talk.
Well, welcome back, Tend Talkers. I am excited to have a guest today that I'm just getting to know myself. And I think that you are going to learn as much from her as I already have in the slight little bit of intro that I've experienced with Susan. But Susan Neal, welcome to Tending Your Dreams.
Well, thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
Wonderful. So, Susan, you are a dream tender, but you have a very specific niche or message or theme that you follow. So tell our listeners what that is.
It's healthy living. So it is taking care of our bodies so that it will last us through this life gracefully.
That's wonderful. Now, so when you think about tending your dreams, and let me just back up for a moment. Tell me, how long has it been that you have been tending this particular dream? So is this something that from like childhood you always knew you wanted to do? How did that develop for you?
Well, my actual dream was to become an author, and my genre is healthy living. So it wasn't till, I'd say like maybe 2012, 2014 did I start, writing a lot, and I was creating, and then it was like, wow, I want to be an author. Even though I'm a nurse, I have an MBA, I have a master's in health science. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just started writing in the little bits of time in life. And so my dream was to become an author.
Okay. So did you have the dream of becoming an author from the time that you were a child, or is that something that you just discovered and it unraveled for you in adulthood?
I discovered it around the time, in my early 50s. So it was not a dream in childhood. I mean, I became a nurse. I went to the University of Florida nursing school. I worked as a nurse at Shands Hospital in Gainesville. And then I didn't like that. So I got an MBA and a master's in health science. And I became a healthcare administrator. And I worked at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville. So I was into healthcare administration then. And then my third job was then I worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield as a quality assurance nurse. So then I started having children, and after my second child, I stopped working, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years. And I wanted to do something to where I could still be staying at home with my kids and be available to them if they're sick or whatever's going on. Everywhere you got to take them after school. But I still wanted something entrepreneurially for me to fill my heart and my creativity. And so it was just laid on my heart to become an author, and that's what I did.
So cool. And so one of the things I love about what you just shared is, well, there are a few things, but one is the fact that, so for many people, it's very common for you to go through life, and so you follow a vocation, this path that you go down, and it isn't until later that you realize that there was this dream that was kind of laying fallow in your spirit. And then suddenly sometimes you almost wake up one morning and it's like, wow, I'm not sure where this came from, but suddenly I have a drive and a desire to pursue this. But the other thing that I think is beautiful is that you just said something that I believe so wholeheartedly in, and that is, it's never too late for a fresh start with fresh faith. And I'm so glad you didn't talk yourself out of that dream.
Right, because I could have easily gone back into healthcare administration, but that's not where my heart was. My heart was writing. And initially I began with writing about yoga because I was a Christian yoga instructor. And then I tuned into healthy living because I'm like a health nut and have been probably since my 30s, not always, but since about my 30s. And so I started writing about what I live. And so that's how it all came about. It took a while to find my genre within writing.
Sure. And I think it's so important too for us to walk out what we want to share first. And a lot of people try to get ahead of that in dream tending. They're like, oh, I want to share this with the world, but they haven't taken the time to experience it for themselves. So I think it's really nice that you share that piece with our audience, because we do need to invest in the foundation before we start building up.
Right. I had to start somewhere with, what to write about. It could have been parenting. It could have been yoga. It could have been healthy living. But I was a Christian yoga instructor. So it's like, well, I'll write one book on Christian yoga and I'll write another book on yoga for beginners. So I wrote 2 books, published them in 2016. And that was the beginning. And then I had to really learn, I had to learn how to write. And so I joined writers groups. I started reading books on, how to write better. I went to writers conferences. So I did a lot of things to invest in myself to be good at what my heart had chosen for me to pursue.
Well, and so I'm going to change direction just a little bit, just slightly with us too, because one of the things that I was so excited about when it came to having you as a guest on Tending Your Dreams is I am passionate about the importance of health for us to be able to pursue and maintain our dreams. And so many of us lose sight of that, especially when the dream begins to take hold. You work and you strive so much in the beginning, but then after a while, you do gain some momentum, which is nice, but it also can make you almost sit on your laurels when it comes to taking care of yourself, especially someone like me. We're on the road a lot. I'm traveling constantly, and it is tough to maintain healthy habits when you are out there doing what I'm doing and as often as I am. So I'd love for you, Susan, to share with our listeners some of your tips and insights to help us keep a good, healthy strategy so that we are equipped to maintain our dreams.
Okay. So you want to avoid eating processed packaged foods. So don't even go in the middle of the grocery store where all the boxes and bags are. Just don't eat meats that are clean. So in other words, they don't have any hormones or antibiotics. They're grass-fed. So your meats are clean. And then you want vegetables, lots and lots of different vegetables. In fact, there are 100 different vegetables. So there is a lot to choose from. And then you want to eat low sugar fruits, such as green apples, any kind of berry, plums, grapefruit. And you want to avoid the high sugar fruits like grapes and all the cantaloupe and honeydew melons and that kind of thing. So you want to eat fruits, vegetables, meats. Now the grains, you want to avoid wheat. So, and if you do eat wheat, make sure it's organic. Instead, eat quinoa or brown rice or barley or, something of that nature instead of typical white rice or wheat. And if you quit eating wheat, you will probably lose 1, maybe 2 pounds a week. It's amazing. And so I highly recommend avoiding wheat. Yeah. So, and then also half your plate, if you have a circle for your plate, half of it should be fresh, raw vegetables and 1 fruit a day. So what I do is for lunch, especially if I'm at home, I eat a great big salad and I just add some nuts and seeds to that because those are also great protein sources. And so that is a large, that's going to be 1/3 of my, portion for the day is going to be the fresh raw greens. And then I tend to get different ones each week, kale 1 week, spinach another, mixed, greens another. So then you mix up the type of greens that you're eating.
So, Susan, for the person out there, though, that they live out of the box and the bag, okay, and they're on, maybe like me, they're on the go, they're on the run all of the time. do you have any tips to help make it easier to eat clean and healthy when you already feel hurried and harried all of the time?
Get some little bags of nuts. And have your nuts be raw. So, for example, in my area of North Florida, we have pecans. So November through, December, we have lots of pecans. They're harvested. I get them cracked, I shell them, I put them up in mason jars in the freezer for, a quart each month. And then so put your nuts, let's say they're walnuts or almonds, wherever you may live, get them fresh, get them raw, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in your purse, and have those to grab instead of a granola bar when you are on the run.
Okay.
Put a green apple in your purse. It's another one.
Well, and I know that for myself, one of the things that I have learned is, so traveling, and I do a fair amount of driving, but even if I'm flying, this works usually. Used to, it was very easy just to pull through the drive-through and get something to eat. And I have discovered, though, that anywhere that you see fast food restaurants, there's usually going to be a grocery store nearby. And so it's almost as convenient to go and grab an apple and maybe a small bag of nuts or something as it is to do the unhealthy choice and go through the drive-through. So that's worked very well for me.
That's good. I think drive-thrus, many of them have great salads. So I get, whenever I do go through a drive-through, that's fine. I just get a salad and it's usually wonderful.
And so what does that change in that? Because I can just almost hear some of our listeners groaning right now and going, oh, it sounds like a lot of work and it doesn't, I don't like the taste of those things. What, I can't even have my favorite fruits is what you're saying. What would you say to them that the benefits are that would offset any sacrifice that they may make?
You're going to feel better. You're going to look better. You're going to have clarity of mind, no more brain fog, and you're going to have energy. So after you go through a period of time, in fact, I have a free gift. It's 7-day no sugar wheat challenge. After you finish that week, you're going to feel like you're 10 years younger.
And, I can attest to that. It's interesting. The last couple of years, I've discovered I have a thyroid issue.
Mm.
So for me, I was struggling with a lack of energy, which is not normal for me. I'm actually that high energy gal that most people are looking at and going, how in the world do you do it? But I was feeling sometimes almost as if I had been drugged. Very hard to push through. And then on top of that, I was gaining weight. I wasn't able to do the things I'd always been able to do from a health perspective to be able to get some of that weight off. And then the brain fog you mentioned. Oh, Susan, as an author and a speaker myself, that creative energy that we need, I almost couldn't conjure up. But what I did was actually a 90-day challenge, and I did a lot of study, a lot of reading, and I actually put together my own thyroid protocol. 26 pounds, felt amazing, and my brain was sharper than it had been in years. And so it just changed my life. Now I'm going to confess, though. I did it for 90 days, and then I did that whole thing where I let myself slip backwards. I paid the price. So actually, I'm back on my 90-day protocol again, only this time I'm looking at it differently. It's not a 90-day protocol. It's a lifetime protocol.
It is. 7 years ago, I lost my health with, I had an abscess tooth and it caused 10 medical diagnoses, 2 surgeries, and I could barely get out of bed. And so the doctors did all they could, but then I also had to figure out how to get myself healed. And so I did, but it was a lifestyle change. And so now as a lifestyle, I have never turned back. I'm going to continue to eat healthy and, for the rest of my life. And in my books, I have an 80-20% rule because you don't want a noose around your neck. So 80% of the time, eat well. And 20% of the time, if you want to have that dessert or the grapes, go right ahead.
Love that. My husband had a heart attack a couple of years ago. And so with that, obviously, there's some healthy choices that the doctor recommends. And, you know, in his case, this is a matter of life or death.
Yes.
But one of the things that I asked the doctor about, and actually we got approval for, was to do a Monday through Friday, you know, fairly strict, you know, close to the vest kind of a healthy lifestyle, but asking him, would it be okay if we kind of relaxed a little bit on the weekends? And he said, you know, that is a great idea. I actually wish more of, you know, my patients would do that, because what that does is it does prevent the noose around the neck that you just described. And so for my husband, he's actually responded very well, to the point that his cardiologist says, I wish I had more patients like you.
That's great. Good.
So tell us, Susan, so now you said you had this dream to become an author. Obviously, you have achieved that dream because you have books. Tell us how many books you have. Tell us what they are, where we can find them. You know, let us share that excitement with you.
Okay. Thank you. In 2016, I published Scripture Yoga and then Yoga for Beginners. In 2017, I incorporated my story of how I lost my health and my sister's story of how she got off wheat because she was gluten sensitive, and then sugar because it caused rosacea for her. And in a book, which is my bestseller, called 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates. Oh. And this book is written from a Christian perspective. Mm-hmm. And then in 28, let me tell you, with that book, my 7 Steps book, last month I sold over 500 copies.
Nice.
In 2018, I published 2 more books in that Healthy Living series. One was the Christian Study Guide to go with my 7 Steps book. The next one was Healthy Living Journal, which is where you track your eating and your habits and you figure out what is causing issues in your life. Digestive issues, sleep disturbances, mood changes, whatever it may be. There's charts and graphs, and you go through this for 6 weeks to change the habit. So it's a lifestyle change, and you figure out what's causing you problems. And that's Healthy Living Journal. And then yesterday, I published my 6th book, Healthy Living Series, 3 books in 1. It's a mega book, which includes the 7 Steps to Get Off Sugar and Carbohydrates, its corresponding Christian Study Guide, and the Healthy Living Journal. And what's so good about that is you get 3 books for the price of 2.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And, you know, one of the things you just said, too, I think is so important for anyone that is attempting to tend a dream. You talked about the different symptoms involved when we're participating in some of these unhealthier habits. But one, not all of us have exactly the same body chemistry. So the symptoms can be a little bit different. But I think even more importantly, sometimes we don't recognize that they're physical symptoms. We think we have a mental issue, or, you know, that we just don't have enough willpower. But maybe it is tied directly back to our nutrition, and it can hinder our dreams. And we don't even know that that's a culprit. Would you agree with that?
Yes. For example, I was just writing an article on, your gut health, your gastrointestinal tract, and how we have a balance of our probiotics and a balance of candida yeast, and you want to keep it balanced. And when we take antibiotics, it kills the probiotics, and this bad guy, the yeast, grows. And what that causes, it causes mood swings, depression, anxiety. And so you're thinking those are mental, when actually it could be a physical, simply from an imbalance in your gastrointestinal tract.
Yeah, and that dreaded brain fog. I mean, I don't think that whatever dream it is that you want to tend, there's going to be a certain amount of mental energy that's required for you to pursue that. But that brain fog that comes sometimes, especially if we have an abundance of wheat and carbohydrates and sugar in our diets,
yes,
processed foods, it definitely can have a negative impact on what we want to do with our lives.
Absolutely. It affects me after being 6-7 years ago. Oh my gosh, I am highly affected by those types of processed foods. And the next day I pay for it. Oh, yes, I did. I had a dessert on Saturday night Sunday, I just laid around, didn't leave the house, was on the couch, just so I was like, okay, Sunday I am eating well, so Monday I can get back to work and have my brain again.
Yeah, because it takes several hours for that to get out of your system. And so one thing too that I want to provide is an encouragement for our listeners, though, because again, there may be some people hearing this and saying, I would love to have the benefits you describe, but I cannot do it. It's just too hard. I just don't like those foods. But I just want to say to our listeners, it really only takes a matter of a few days for your taste buds to adjust. It's surprising how quickly that works and how powerful the impact is when you do that. Some people who say that they don't like water, they can't drink water. I'm just going to challenge you. Do it and give yourself at least 7 days of it, of just being really true to that and see what a difference that will make. And then, Susan, your books sound like they would be great support systems. So if you'll tell my listeners a little bit more about where they can find those books, that availability, so that if anyone wants to get back on that healthy track so they can make the most of their dreams, that would be amazing.
You can find them on Susan U. Neal. That's Neal.com. And they are all on Amazon, and all of my links from my website go directly to Amazon, so you can get them, delivered right to your house. And I would also like to offer you a 7-day no sugar wheat free challenge. And that is at SusanUNeal, Neal.com /7, that's the number, 7-day challenge. Okay. SusanUNeal.com /7-day challenge.
Okay. And to be clear, it's SUSAN, the letter U, NEAL.com.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, Susan, thank you so much for being my guest today on Tending Your Dreams. I applaud you for what you're doing. I encourage you to keep doing it, because the thing is, for those of us who are trying to pursue our dreams, we need people like you to educate us and to inspire us so that we can keep, taking the courage that we need, excelling daily, and just, daring to dream bigger. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We encourage you to take the challenge and start tending your dreams. What's the next best step you should take? Tune in next time for a dose of fresh inspiration and practical motivation. You can do this. Go and tend your dreams.